That was a beautiful steak.
That was a beautiful steak. Thank you so much.
Of course.
We're not like, it's not like a mic'd up Monday thing where you have to be like, it's a Monday. Can we say it's a Sunday? And
It's a
like,
Sunday.
Is that like not
it's a Sunday at 11:11?
Is that what the time is?
That is, yeah.
Oh my God.
Right now.
I love that.
That's perfect timing.
11:11.
What's the meaning of that?
Angel numbers. It's cool.
There you go.
It's a Sunday. It's a perfect way to start a Sunday. Great steak. Wouldn't have it any other way. That's cool.
I heard you say in another podcast that if you had your own podcast, you'd start with like a wacky question. Mm-hmm. So I got a wacky one for you. Mm-hmm. Would you rather swap your arms with your legs or have your eyes where your ears are?
Oh, shit. Okay, wait. Say that one again.
Would you rather swap your arms with your legs or have your eyes where your ears are?
Eyes where my ears are, for sure.
What is that?
I don't know, because you can see like, you go like peripheral vision. That's cool.
That's a different
But then
one.
if I was to paint, I could like paint that side and then I'd turn around and like paint that. I could paint like two walls at once.
Yeah. I was trying to find one that related to painting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'd be a different angle.
Yeah.
Different angle.
Yeah. Maybe I'd actually be able to visualize the future because like, you know, one eye's pointing backwards and then the other one, like, yeah.
That's deep. Visualize the future.
I
Do you
can't
do that
visualize.
often?
So I'd be, no.
Why not?
Well, I've only learnt this year. I had a really difficult project and I learnt from a fellow artist that because we were just talking and we've like trained ourselves as artists, but we're more like a trade. So we've just worked really hard at our craft that we can like pump out work at a higher quality, but it's more of like a trade that's like been perfected in that way. So because everyone's like, when you're an artist, you can paint really well. I'm like, yeah, like I can't really. Like I'm great at what I do, but I'm like, I can't visualize things. I'm not creative. And she's like, do you have aphantasia? And I was like, what's that? And then she explained it. She's like, close your eyes. Can you visualize an apple? And I'm like, no, I can only see black. I'm like, isn't that normal? She's like, no. I'm like, I can't see anything when I close my eyes. So I've only learned that I can't visualize things, and that's why I need to design and have references and like work to an image and just work really hard at getting there before I start anything. So in the last like 6 months, I've like dialed in on that and learned like when people are talking to me, I drift off because if I can't see anything or follow the conversation in any other way, I'm like off on another planet, on my own planet. So yeah, so that's why I'd be like, oh, maybe I could visualize if my eyes were different. Yeah.
You spoke about your own planet. Do you find yourself going there a lot?
Yeah, definitely. Own planet. I think there's various versions of our own planets. I think we've spoken about that. It's like sometimes the planet's a bit grim, sometimes it's great. All of them are valuable. All of them are lessons. But yeah, I think there's a planet where I can just like protect myself. There's a planet where I can be in flow state. There's a planet where I know that like I need that. Yeah. But yeah, I'm definitely in my own little world a lot. I apologize to anyone who's ever had a conversation with me and they know I wasn't present.
You sound like you're present now, which is good.
Yes.
You have also said in numerous conversations to me just before and other podcasts, you've done a lot of them. Is there anything that you wish people spoke more about?
To me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think over this year's been huge for like dialing in on just like what matters and working with good people, how to protect myself, which means I can help others. I think and it's just like a human, I wish it wasn't how humans were, but they just see highlights and they latch onto that and they struggle to understand what it took to get to that highlight, and then they miss all the lessons in between. So I wish people would take 20 steps back and realize that if they ask the questions of the journey and like what it took to get there, that everyone would probably get more value from that, because not everyone will get to those highlights, but they might become a better person from learning like what it took to get there, if that makes sense. It's just humans that can be so surface level and so blinded by like flashing lights and what they think is the ultimate experience, but really the majority of what we see as humans as success or the ultimate experience, you either have no idea what it took to get there or it's not what you think it is. So it's like those two things is, wild when you're having conversations with people, because it's the first thing that people say to me. Even I was out last night and someone's like, oh, you're the rock girl. And then started firing like questions at me, and I was just like, when I meet someone now, I think, what question would I want them to ask me? So now I feel like I get so much more value out of conversations with people, because I'll be like, how are you? Or like, how are you feeling? Or and you just try it. It's cool, because I think it makes you a better person too, like knowing what you would want to be asked. Yeah.
Do you see that or find that most people, or a lot of people, like introduce themselves to you as that? Like they'll say you're the rock girl, or okay.
Yeah. Oh, you're the girl who painted the rock, which is cool, because it's like, oh, I like honored. You made that association, like that's awesome. But there's so much more to it. Yeah. So
I saw this the other day. I printed it off because I thought of you.
Yeah, that's cool. What someone is actually going through. Wild what we see. Yeah. That's cool. Hold that up. Yeah, which is the majority of humans. Like, unless and people will be like, oh, well, why don't you share more of like that? But by sharing more of that, you take away from that. You have to find that happy medium between not being ungrateful for the privileged situation that you're in, and also not taking away from the impact of what people see. So there's like that, you got that pendulum swing of, there's young aspiring artists or people who are lost out there who maybe need that glimmer of hope. And by seeing that highlight, they might be like, it gives them that hope. Whereas if you're always sharing this, is that going to have the same impact? So it's like, where do you find that happy medium between being real but not taking away from the impact? So
do you find it hard to, when people say they appreciate the impact, do you find it hard to accept that?
Yes, there's I guess a imposter syndrome that kicks in, and a bit of like a mental battle, because it depends on like who it is and how much capacity I have to share, or like how much I value that person and what they need at that time. But yes, I do struggle, because sometimes I'm like, oh, I wish I could say this. But it's like, what do they need at that point in time? Is that going to benefit them by saying, this is not what it seems? Just be mindful that there was this as well. You don't want to take away from that. So it depends on the person. But yes, I do struggle with that sometimes.
Some days I overthink every email I send, every interaction I have with humans, every DM I reply to. Did I give the right advice? It exhausts me, and I often feel like I want to rip my brain out of my head.
That's good emotions that arise from reading that. And not sad, but I think it's like so many people would feel like that, and it makes me sad that maybe they think it's like something that's wrong with them. I've only started asking questions recently to my mom and my dad and like my family, which have now like helped my siblings understand me as a person, and like my partner understand me more. But I was like, what was I like as a kid? Because I've gotten to the stage where I'm like, why? Like, or, you have conversations, and I'm like, do you send an email and read over it 10 times and think, oh, could I have done that? And some people are like, no. And I'm like, ooh, interesting. But it makes me sad, because a lot of people would be like that and be like, oh, what's wrong with me? Like, why am I like this? Instead of just embracing it and being like, cool, how can we put things in place that might, help to not dwell or like let them consume you, but also nurture it and be like, oh, it's because you care about what you do, and just know your strengths and weaknesses. But yes, that is a real thing. I can have a conversation with a stranger, and then it will still be like, I'll still be playing it over and over in my head. sometimes I'll have to message people and be like, hey, sorry, like and they won't even think twice about it. But I feel like most of the most brilliant people I know have some are like that, and it's really cool. So, but does it consume me? Yes. Sometimes I get to the end of the day and I'm like, oh my God, I wish my brain would just not get so, and yet like I'll have a massive interaction and it would just be like, cool, all good. So yeah, interesting.
Do you have people in your life that pull you on the small things?
What do you mean by that?
I'm like you. I think about every email that I send or my interaction to the point where it's consuming. And I review an email and I send it. Mm-hmm. And some people in my life will say that was wrong. Like it was a small, minute thing. They pick up on the minute details.
My mum's a grammar police.
Yeah.
But in terms of like human interaction, if I could do things differently, not so much. Do you think it's a good thing having that or no?
I think it's good, but it means you're constantly second guessing. But I mean, I do send a lot of like professional emails, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's good to overthink, but at the same time.
If I am overthinking it, I might just ask and be like, hey, is this okay? Or I'm lucky I have Alessandra in my corner because we can kind of like, we have that second brain just to be like, yep, all good. And she'll put my thoughts at ease and I'll put her thoughts at ease sometimes. So yes, I do. So Alessandra's probably that person that, she'll be like, D. But she'll know that even if she reassures me, it'll still be,
I saw something you wrote on that same post. It said, after 14 years of painting, I still feel like I'm finding my style. What does that mean?
I literally feel like I'm just starting still. 14 years of like consistent painting. It's all I've done. I feel like I haven't even, it's cool. It's exciting. Like I know, like I take so much pride in my work. I wouldn't walk away from anything that I wouldn't be happy if I've done for myself. Like I care about my clients just as much as I care about my family. I'm honored that they trust me to, or they have me in their space, like their safe space to paint something. So the level of work I'm stoked with, but I know that the feeling of like feeling like I'm just getting started is probably something that I'm going to carry for a very long time. And style, like I'm at the moment I'm still just enjoying painting and working with people and telling their stories and learning from that and building trust with people. So it doesn't get to me, but I know that there's a lot of artists who obviously I have so much admiration and respect for because they have their style, and that's such a hard thing to do and to commit to and then like fiercely and relentlessly just stick to and say, hey, this is what I'm doing and take it or leave it. So I have a lot of respect for that, and I hope eventually maybe one day I'll get there.
Do you think, that was my question. Do you think you will get there?
Yeah, I think so.
What do you think it'll take?
I think time is, for me it doesn't really exist because I know that you get to that time and then things have evolved and changed anyway. So it's always shifting. Time, and I think when I feel like I've given back enough to other creatives and to artists, given back what I didn't have, I feel like I'll be able to then like gift myself more time to get there. Whereas like I feel like my purpose is elsewhere at the moment.
You said didn't have. What do you think didn't have is? Wouldn't change a thing, but in a craft that is undervalued, there's not a lot of support. I didn't have anyone to go to. I didn't have a community. I didn't have someone I could ask questions. And I think just like where do you start? What do you do? How do you learn like business? There's so many questions. I had an abundance of support, love and support, and but it was still, you can be not lonely, but you can feel alone. So I felt alone a lot of the time, even though I had like
beautiful family and like friends and everything. So I still felt really alone. And I know there's people out there that don't have that support. So I can't imagine not having that support and still trying to navigate the journey on their own. Like that would feel super, super isolating. So
you've commented on the fact that you need to be alone. So you're saying in that time you needed a healthy balance between the two, perhaps?
No, I think when I mean like alone is in like you can have the support. Like there's being lonely and then like feeling alone. And I think feeling alone in a journey where like you don't know where it's going to end, like you don't know if you're going to make something of it. There's a lot of doubt from yourself and from others. So that's what I mean. Like I didn't have the support in terms of like, how do I learn business? How do I learn how to paint? Where do I start with murals? So I was just figuring it out as I went, making mistakes. And that's why I've started that artist community. But I do need a lot of alone time. So on that note, like there's finding that happy medium between like having that alone time to then put time and energy into your craft. But I mean on like the bigger picture of like not having that community to help you through the tough times.
I worry that I'm not a good teacher or leader, but I know the only way we're going to change the narrative is to try. We've got to start somewhere.
Like when do you get to the point when like it's same goes for teachers. Like how much life experience do you need? How much do you need to go through before you qualify to teach someone or to give back what your knowledge and what you know? I think that's something that I've battled but then you see other people, not that you compare, but you sort of think, oh, they've been on this journey for a year and they're gifting their knowledge. So really, as long as you're helping people, does it matter? Does it matter how long or how long's a piece of string? So yes, starting, the online platform and the education platform for artists, it was really hard for me to know when the right time was. Am I a good teacher? Can I lead this? Is my voice or what I know good enough? Are people going to benefit from it? Is this valuable? Are people going to benefit from it? Is it something that artists need? We've kicked that off and we've even in a short time realized that it is something that artists needs. But I think it took a while to get there. You just have to, in those, I think, and it goes for anything, in those doubts and moments of like, should I, could I, am I enough? Am I good at this? Like you have to weigh up. If you don't do it, who's missing out? Versus like if you do it and failure or whatever, you won't know unless you try. So, and I knew that there was people that need it. So even if we help a couple of people, that's cool.
Do you think you'll ever feel like you're enough?
Probably gotten to the stage now where I'm like, I definitely am enough. Like I have periods where I don't feel like I'm enough, but I think this year has been, I've been like in terms of like mental health and like consistency. I feel like this year has been like the most consistent year I've ever had, which is really cool.
It's amazing. I remember seeing in a post that it was your Instagram in 2011 that sort of sparked back the motivation for or the passion for what you did. What was going on in your life before that happened?
Oh, gee, that's a loaded question. So 2011. So I would have finished school in 2010. School was, and again, now I'm only asking the questions now to understand why I was like I was, why did I wag, why was school not for me? Because I got through uni, I was like, oh, maybe I didn't have issues concentrating or fitting in or benefiting from the schooling system. So, yeah, before 2011, teenage years were like drinking at a young age. I think I was 14, 15, smoking a lot of weed, hanging out with the wrong people. Had a few key moments there. Family was always a constant, which I think that's what kind of kept me somehow on the right path. Not that they knew what I was really up to in the background. And then obviously art. So when I finished school, that was encouraged by my parents to keep going. And I think it just kicked me out of the downward spiral that I might have been on in my younger teen years, for sure.
What did that spiral look like?
When you just look at someone and think, how do you attract so much drama? How is everything in your life an absolute shitstorm? It was like the choice in partners. It was the drama amongst friends. It was the, I was stealing at a young age, just not a great human. And it's like you can look at the people, like my family and the people around me, and it's like that did not align at all. How did you end up in that situation? I do believe being a creative, and obviously I was at an academic school. I'm not blaming anything or anyone, but I think I do believe like being a creative in an academic school, that wasn't the right fit for me. And I feel like the rebellion and everything else that I went through was just me not being like nurtured, and I'm just not expressing myself at a young age. And that's sort of how I ended up in that situation. I was obviously like expressing myself and acting out in different ways.
What was the turning point?
Definitely the art, and like mum got sick. So that was a bit of a wake up call. And yeah, probably just having something to like focus on. Like I got addicted to like just painting and getting better at it, and having that discipline for that was probably the huge turning point, which I did have in sport. Like I was very dedicated to my sport, but I probably knew deep down that it wasn't for me. Like I'd played some quite high level tournaments in tennis, and there was a lot of politics, and that kind of put me off. So yeah, interesting.
My stubbornness and determination from a young age definitely helped me ride the waves of the journey.
Yeah. So when I played tennis, I got called Jack. That was my nickname, because a nickname for like as Jack Russell, because they just like chase everything down. I would be the most annoying tennis player because I would just get every ball back. I wasn't that great. Like as an artist, I'm like, I'm just determined and just kept going. So yeah, that's definitely correct.
I remember you saying you don't feel like you're talented either. Like, I don't feel like I'm talented enough. Talent is overrated. Discipline, practice, and persistence beat raw talent every single time.
I think there's a lot of artists out there that are wildly talented, yet they maybe don't have the discipline to make it something, and there's so much wasted talent. I think I was born with a gift to definitely create, but I don't think I'm a talented artist. Like I think I'd be taking away from those who are genuinely talented if I said that I was. I'm not creative like them. Have I worked my butt off? Yes. So like I'll give myself credit there. But I have just worked really, really hard at learning how to paint.
Did your journey start at your house?
Yes.
Really?
Yeah. Kitchen table at like 8 or 9 years old. Went from the kitchen table because then I had to set up and pack up. So that was obviously, and then went for the middle of the kitchen, back rooms, grandparents, garage, sort of just evolved.
Is it not overwhelming, but is it like a pinch yourself moment looking at how far you've come since then?
Yeah, definitely. It is overwhelming, I think, because you forget sometimes. I do reflect often.
On what?
It's nice to have my family there actually to reflect, 'cause my mum reminds me of all the times that, there's hard times. I don't want to take away from hard times, but it's relevant. But yeah, it's cool to look back and be like, there's so many points where you could have given up and you didn't. And this was not an overnight thing. Like it's been 14 years. Like just, it's so cool. Like to look back. Yeah, the support along the way too. Yeah, I think it's overwhelming, but it's also really really special to be able to like reflect on your journey. It's cool.
It's taken me 14 years to realize that only you can protect your energy. Protecting yourself from burnout as a creative is essential for maintaining both your passion and productivity.
Yeah, we've had a few cool chats on this already. I think, what did I say? I was like, it's an us problem. Like it's a you problem. Like if you're feeling a certain way, it's not the decisions or the people around you. It's how you set yourself up to deal with that or you don't. Like it's how you learn to put those boundaries in place. I did 75 hard fitness challenge last year. And as much as I think it's like not physically sustainable to do that, the amount of excuses that we make as humans is insane. All you need to do is a challenge like that to catch yourself out, or some sort of challenge with an end goal to catch yourself out on the daily excuses that we make. And to be fair, the majority of them are excuses. So that taught me, you know, when something arose or I was feeling a certain way and I was like, oh, that's that person's fault. And it's like, well, no, actually that's on me. So even, you know, if shit things happen to you that you can't control, it's like how you react and how you deal with that situation is on you. So you can be like, oh, but this happened. Cool. How are you going to deal with it? Oh, but like poor me. Cool. That's your reaction to it. You need to learn how to shift and manage. And if you need some time, give yourself that time. But yes, I feel like in the last 6 months or a year, I've really learned how to protect that energy and know and understand. And it doesn't matter if you're creative or you're in business or whatever you do, you need to learn how to protect your energy because no one's going to do that for you and they don't understand what's going in here. So you can't assume that someone knows how you're feeling. What do I say? Like I actually understand now where I feel like my nervous system is combusting. And yeah, I only understood that I'm definitely not extroverted. Like I am in situations, but I need so much alone time. And then that then helps me perform at my best when I am painting or am creating or am running a business.
Do you think you misunderstood then?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, social media does that though. Yeah.
I feel like you put yourself out there so much on social media and it comes back to that image. No one knows what's going on behind closed doors.
No
matter what you're doing. I mean, like I said, that letter that I wrote recently, it's just no one really sees what's going on behind closed doors, but you've just got to embrace it, hey?
Yeah, you got to embrace it and you have to realize that like no one really has the capacity to care about all of that. It sounds really horrible, but like everyone's just surviving and dealing with their own stuff. So you can't assume that like people are going to want to see all that because they've got their own of that happening. So they probably only have the capacity to understand and appreciate what they see. Do you know what I mean?
For sure.
Hard thing to swallow.
You spoke about like constantly comparing, and I'm trying to wind this back to like people and what they go through. You've also referenced the fact that you like constantly compare yourself to others. Do you find that is a common thing amongst people that are going through or trying to build a personal brand, let's just say, or a business? Or
definitely. I think building a business and building a personal brand, I always say if it was easy, everyone would do it. I think it's natural to compare yourself because if you are in that position, you're generally driven and you want more. So I think we're a bit of a sucker for punishment in a sense that if we're not looking like with our blinders like that and you're like this, are you going to learn and are you going to like soak up, like we're sponges, are we going to soak up as much as we need to be able to push ourselves to advance? So I think comparing yourself is good for learning and growth, but if it is hindering like your mental health or your ability to create, then definitely that's when, again, you need to look inwards. How do I learn best? How do I evolve best? But yeah, sometimes you do look at it and you're like, whoa, am I doing the right thing? But you got to catch yourself out and just know where you're at. You might have a period where of a couple of months where you just need to dial in on yourself and like look at what like you have to improve internally. And then you might be like, hey, I'm feeling good. Like I can compare. I can take this on. So I guess it depends on where you're at.
Can you take me back to a time where you had that self-doubt and you just weren't sure what the hell you were doing?
So many
There's probably
times.
too many, yeah.
I'll speak on more recently because I think people would assume that self-doubt is inevitable at the start of a journey, which it's daily. It is still maybe a weekly or a monthly occurrence. I think it's healthy for not becoming complacent. However, I think an amount of intense self-doubt arose after a huge highlight in 2022. So it wasn't that long ago. And yeah, I think it's so crazy. I think the doubt depends on what levels, but for me at that point in time, there was like financial doubt as like being in a business, and I'm like, how have I been in business for 10 years and I'm on my ass? These decisions were mine and mine only. Like, did you make the right decision? Now moving forward, like, what do I want to do? Where's my purpose? Like, there's so many questions. So I think that self-doubt is often, it's either internal or it can start with something external that's happened and then it just makes you tap in.
Was that at the point where you're putting money, I remember you saying you're putting your own savings into it.
Yeah.
What would a fly on the wall seen when you were going through that?
Fly on the bedroom wall, real personal, would have seen my partner physically lifting me out of bed to get me to the doctors because I was in like a massive breakdown and just physically and like mentally like get teary, like talking about depleted. And I think knowing, I don't think I've ever cried on a podcast before. I think, fly on the wall saw that, and then the hardest part of that is what I was putting out on social media and the pressure from everyone else around me who maybe I didn't communicate that was happening was completely different to what people were seeing. And that the fact that I wasn't being real at that point in time was what was really getting to me, because I was like, this is not me. Usually we do Mic'd Up Monday, and that's why we started Mic'd Up Monday, because I was like, I can't be going through something like this and be putting out something completely different. But it was what it was, and like I would have been insane I wouldn't change how that all played out. It's something I've only just started speaking on now.
I was going to say, you've told the story. Later. Sorry to cut you off there.
No, sorry.
You've told the importance of like creating a story.
Yeah. Is
that period of your life the reason why you thought it'd be good to actually tell the story, or was it a combination of other things?
Yeah, definitely, because that period was probably like, that was really hard, and it just didn't sit well with me that I hadn't, I guess, been open and honest. You people would say you could, but I just couldn't at that point in time. Like, I could not. I didn't have the capacity, like, for me, and I didn't have the heart to take away from the impact that would have had. So yes, storytelling is really important. I still have to be really tactful in how I tell that story. So maybe a conversation that we have off camera will come across like brutally honest and a little bit different. But yeah, I still have to be very tactful because I understand like the impact of those things. But yeah, fly on the wall to what people were seeing was definitely very different at that point in time.
What made you not give up?
Yeah, I don't think at that point I was like, am I going to give up? It was just what do we do differently now moving forwards? And like, just giving myself that time to get out of that hole and then just come back better and obviously change things that are so aligned with me more. And I never felt like that ever again because that's not even imposter syndrome. Like I remember looking at Luke being like, I feel like a fraud. I literally looked at him and I was broken because more so because of the guilt that I was carrying.
Because of how you were portraying yourself?
Yeah. Because we were putting out content of like me on this big world stage, meeting The Rock, like flying overseas, and I was in bed having a breakdown. You've
referenced the highs and the lows.
I was doing radio interviews like from bed.
Really?
Because I was like sick, but I was like interview after interview. And Alessandra was literally sitting on the floor like in the corner of the bedroom. And
the highs and the lows. Is that something, looking back, you wish you prepared? It's hard to prepare yourself without going through it, but like, some of the things that I've done here, you know, I assume that people can relate to the fact that, you know, speaking to someone like for me, speaking to someone like you is a big high.
Oh, thank you.
But and then you go, and then it's just me, and I'm like,
you're like, I feel that all the time.
Yeah.
Finishing a mural.
Yeah.
You build these relationships with people. You're like in this fight camp, this marathon to get it done, the mental, physical battles, you're on this wave, and then it's done. And you walk away. And you're like, So it's like I think you probably listened to, I've said it in another podcast. I've learnt to approach the highs and the lows in a similar manner. You try. It's really, really, really hard as a human. But I try not to get too worked up over the highs. And sometimes people will be like, why aren't you excited about this? And I'm like, it's cool. So grateful. Deep down, I'd be like bursting in gratitude and excitement. But if I expend so much energy on those highs, those lows are going to be extremely low. That gap is just widened. You can prepare yourself for the highs as much as, and you can, every time you encounter them, it'll get a little bit easier. But as a normal human being, you are going to have some sort of feeling on the other side. And that is where the learning takes place, is on the other side.
Has there ever been a time you've disappointed yourself?
Oh, fuck yeah. If I'm going to swear.
How so?
All the time. All the time. Yeah.
How so?
Oh. I do a lot of reflection on like how I treated other humans. Like, I think, which is cool because then, you know, if I have encounters where humans disappoint me, I'm like, you know what? Like, they might get to a stage where they look back on this and think, could have done differently, or carry some sort of empathy. I think there's lots of disappointments. There's probably, I don't think I've ever disappointed myself in like not giving enough. Always just like, I always say I'd prefer to like work myself to the bone rather than be disappointed and be like, I could have done more. I think I'm always given enough. Maybe disappointed myself in a sense that maybe I haven't said no, or maybe I've given too much to the wrong people, or maybe, human interactions haven't been as honourable as what I would, do now. Or I've disappointed other people unintentionally. Like I have a lot of empathy. If I've like hurt someone, I'm like, oh my God. But
does it, if you're in, let's just say your own world, then do you struggle to know if you have, and what to you is actually disappointing someone?
I've learned that a lot of the time disappointing someone is generally not. It's like what I feel, like it's very internal. That's a good question. Say it again.
I need to re-listen back. I'm in the flow, so I sort of get.
Yeah, like I think, because we're talking about disappointing.
Yeah. Like how do you know when you've disappointed someone?
Like maybe their reaction or what they've said, I'm like, that's probably maybe not what they expected, or disappointment usually is like stems from other human experiences or dealings, or I don't know. That's an interesting one. I know if I've disappointed my partner, like we'll have a conversation about it. So it's okay.
Does it happen often?
No, maybe it's generally when I'm like just really busy and I'm not present. But he'll tell me, he'll be like, hey, Earth to Danielle, I kind of need you here. So we have a wildly like beautiful understanding of like that we have separate lives but have great communication to help us like just travel on our own paths, but also as one, as two. So I'd assume that it's, you know, being with someone for 8 years, there would have been plenty of disappointments, but nothing that's like, I think it's cool to have that because that's growth. So yeah.
Do people try and give you advice a lot?
Yeah. Yeah.
How so?
I think people think that unless you're like that 1% who has done an ultra marathon or has worked relentlessly for a long period of time or is just like a full-blown hustler or you have a craft or you're a fighter or you're an athlete, I think there's a lot of people who think everything is easier than what it is or easier than it seems. So it's like oh, you should have done that and, oh, you should do this or like we're just going to paint this and you're going to sell this and you're going to make this. So it's giving advice by not knowing like what my actual wants and needs and purpose and what I actually love to do. A lot of people just think that I want to make money. So they're like so grateful for the advice, but not everyone's values are aligned. So I'll take advice from very minimal people.
My biggest learning in the past few years is to not take advice from someone who lives a life you wouldn't want to live. Mm-hmm. I fucking love that.
I know. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
What does that mean to you?
Well, and I've made a fair few boo-boos over the years by maybe not living by those words. So
Boo-boos.
Boo-boos.
Don't know what that is.
Boo-boos. A few little mistakes.
Okay.
A few little, I wouldn't say no mistakes, lessons. Maybe at a time of vulnerability or growth or when you're taking some big sort of like making some huge shifts, you can get caught out as a human and people often promise the world and don't deliver. So I think, I've made a few side steps over the last few years. And then I look back and I'm like, whoa, like their life was definitely, or where they're at or their values is definitely not something that I want to live. So why did I take advice from that person? Again, wouldn't change anything, but it's interesting. Like when you talk to people and they're like, oh, I took advice from this person. I'm like, do you look up to them and think they are living and breathing and walking in a way that you want? And they're like, oh, and I'm like, oh, trust yourself, like trust your gut and trust yourself first. That's probably the best thing that my partner has re-instilled in me. He's like, D, trust yourself. Like trust yourself more. Like no one else knows better than you. You can take advice, but at the end of the day, like your gut is, and like you as a human.
Reinstilled.
Yeah, reinstilled. Yeah, it was a bit of I was in that period after 2022, like there was a solid 6 months there that I was just lost. No idea. I was taking advice from way too many people. I was making big business decisions that I probably shouldn't have been making.
Yeah.
Super vulnerable. Changing management. Probably like hurting some friends along the way because I was just like, oh, I'm going to try this. Like I was just a bit desperate to like find a better, like just find some more consistency and get back on track. So
what was it like being alone during that phase?
Yeah, I remember just driving home most nights from the studio being like, oh my God, how am I gonna get out of this situation? But also said to myself like so many times, sit in your shit. Sit in this shit. You've ended yourself up in this situation. It'll pass. So if anyone's going through anything, sit in your shit and this too shall pass. It does not feel like it at the time. And someone's saying that to you, you're like, fuck off. I don't want to hear that right now. But if you say it to yourself, it generally is received a little bit differently. So that's kind of what I said in those periods. And I was like, we'll get there.
Sounds like you have an intense belief in yourself. Or am I wrong?
Definitely. I don't think you're wrong. I think there's now more periods than not where I do believe. But I think a lot of my friends and like you, like we'll speak for both of us or tell me if I'm wrong, but I think if you meet people and they're just not very empathetic, sympathetic, and they don't have emotional intelligence, I often feel for them because I'm like, I battle, like mentally, like I know that I have the tendency to battle. You battle, like from what we've spoken on, like we know some brilliant people who battle, which gives them a gift. It's a blessing and a curse, but you've been given a gift where you can feel, like you feel, and like gave me goosebumps saying that, you can feel. So I think there's periods of like there's no self-belief, but being able to feel like in the self-belief periods and feel intensely, unfortunately, comes with periods where you won't have that belief and you'll feel like nothing. So
would you say that is the biggest curse?
No,
What's
not
the
at all.
biggest curse?
Biggest curse?
From having that mindset.
No. Oh, sometimes you just want to exit the universe, which is so sad. Do you know what I mean? Like you're like, I just want to get out of my head. And like sometimes you have those thoughts where like I can see a tree, I just want to drive into it. And I'm like, whoa, you know, like it's crazy. Sometimes and it's sad because you know that some people have those thoughts and they don't have the systems or the people in place to actually come out the other side. And that's a curse. It's not a curse for me because it probably was. There was a danger period there where it was a huge curse. But then you see the risk-taking behavior that comes with it and we lose so many brilliant humans because of it. And I think it's a curse for a lot of people.
So you were like at the lowest of low then?
I've had multiple periods where I have been, yes.
Did you hear Elon Musk talk about death? He got asked the question of death and he said it would be a relief.
Wow. Yeah.
And I'm assuming you know Elon Musk.
I know Elon Musk, yeah. What a brilliant human. Yeah. I definitely do not feel like that now. But I definitely know that there has been some periods. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
No, thanks for allowing me to open up to share.
What did that, did you have a support network around you at that time? I'm a bit stubborn in the sense that like if I'm going through something, the more people that know, the bigger the problem. So I tend to like to sift through it and work through it on my own. But in saying that, like my parents, more so my mum, because she has endured a lifetime of like mental health and trauma. She's been through a lot. So knowing that she understands that, like I've always had that person to go to. My partner, when we first met, he came from a family who now they do, but they didn't understand mental health. So I'm pretty sure like if his mum listens to this, hopefully she laughs, but she thought I was absolutely mentally insane when we first met because I was having anxiety attacks weekly, daily, monthly. So he didn't understand it. So it's been a huge process and credit to him, like the most beautiful human I know, because he's given so much time and energy to understanding like mental health and like he's just so supportive. But yes, I like my partner and like my mum are definitely like two people that I lean on. My friends, like I have friends who I had the most supportive friends, but I'll talk about it generally after the fact. They're like, why didn't you tell me? And I'm like, well, because it's not anyone else's responsibility to carry that. Expect nothing. Don't expect praise or a thank you. You need to learn to do it alone. It will make you fiercely relentless and allow you to push through the grim times. Bang.
Yeah, bang. Good. Yeah, just like probably finish it there. We'll just say. Yeah. I think if you can learn to expect nothing, there'll be less disappointments, and it'll just give you a bigger and better backbone.
What does this photo mean to you?
Me and my brother. Yeah, that was another interesting time. He's my, I was like gonna ride it yesterday. I'm like, he's my fucking hero, honestly.
Running marathons.
Oh man, he just finished an ultra marathon. He's got a broken toe too. I know he probably doesn't listen to my podcast, but I'll send this to him. So no, I won't torture him like that. We're very close growing up. Evidently, that's a photo from like when we were kids. We're so different as people, like so different. But yeah, he's just my hero. Like he's just like the way he's highly intelligent. He still intrigues me with his thinking. I do have a sister too, and again, we're so different. And she's just had a child, so like the bond. I love that. Like our bond has grown stronger as well. But yeah, my brother just. I honestly, I'll be in grim times in murals, and I'll think of him. I'll be like, don't be a fucking fanny D. Like your brother has just done this or just done that, and it's just so cool, really cool. That painting. I was traveling throughout Europe, and again, I was still in that stage where I was talking about before, where like you're just attracting shit, like what you put out into the universe is what you get back. I've learned that recently, and not trying to avoid things either. You're just in that spiral. Can't see it at the time, but I got punched in the face by. Long story short, I won't go into it, but. There was an altercation and I got hit by a male in Macedonia, and I have been through some trauma in past relationships, so it really just brought up a whole heap of stuff for me. And I remember the next day we went sightseeing and there was this doorway and I just felt so much peace, like just standing there looking at that doorway. So I took a photo of it and I imposed that photo into the doorway, and I feel like it just was just shifting that negative experience and sort of like putting some light into it. Walking around that day, maybe I didn't hold that empathy then, but now like people just stare at me because I had a black eye and like people were just staring and I felt so uncomfortable, and I know they felt uncomfortable, but I just had this like now especially, I'm not sure my thoughts back then, but I just have this like immense sadness for anyone who's, gone through like domestic violence. And it's like people looking at me like, why do you have a black eye? Like, is that your fault kind of thing? And I was like, obviously that was internal, but yeah, I just had this sadness for like people who have gone through that, and maybe they've been looked at differently when really like that was so out of their control. My situation was a little bit different. Like I definitely could have avoided that altercation. Not saying I deserved it. No one deserves to be hit. But what was to follow was pretty, I wouldn't say cool to navigate because that's probably not the right word, but like a very interesting situation to navigate because I think my black eye stayed for like 4 weeks, and then I went and saw family as well, and it was just funny how hit. That one thing I chipped my teeth as well. Like it was pretty hard.
How did you deal with that?
So
how old were you?
I would have been 21 maybe.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
What to deal with at 21?
Yeah, 21.
Any age, sorry.
20 maybe? Yeah. Or even 19 or 20? Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, how did you deal with that?
I probably didn't. Didn't deal with it. Yeah.
Do you think you have dealt with it?
I kind of saw, yes, definitely now. I kind of saw the humorous I sort of like put a humorous spin on everything. I'm like, oh, really good, like, you're still smiling. So I probably just dealt with it like that. I think I deal with things now that have happened in the past by just like speaking about it, and probably didn't at the time though. I was in a pretty bad place after. Just for like various reasons. So yeah, I probably wasn't emotionally aware enough or mature enough to connect the dots back then with like the trauma and abuse and things like that. It wasn't. Yeah,
I didn't know it was that bad.
It's always interesting looking back though. Like it's cool to be able to look back and to speak on it and be like understanding, getting to that understanding, whether it's now 10 years. I think people put too much pressure on like something happening and trying to understand and connect the dots right then and there. But sometimes you need 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, and it's never too late to deal with that trauma. I think as humans we need to like give people a bit of grace to do that. People in relationships that want, like deal with your problems now. Like it's not going to, I think we've got to be a bit more patient.
Would the young you be proud of yourself today?
Oh, shit, yeah. Yeah.
What would you say?
Oh,
yeah, it's hard. Yeah. What would you say? Yeah.
Oh. You could have been a real menace. You're still a menace, but you've actually like done something. You've done something valuable with that menacing nature. And I'm proud of you for pushing through, like finding purpose, finding happiness, and then like being able to like give it back to people. So proud. So cool.
Is your purpose evolving, do you think?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. You realize like what fills your cup, what doesn't. You realize that time is like more like, time is so freaking precious. Like you don't know. So I think I'm valuing and realizing that more. Like you don't get that back. Like you do not get like this time, like you do not get it back. So yeah, that's really cool.
We don't stop playing because we grow old. We grow old because we stop playing.
Yeah. I think I'll just always be a menace.
That's from your threads.
Yeah, I love it.
What's the word? Menace. So like, do you mean you're playful, that sort of stuff? Yeah. Is that hard if so it sounds like you've gone through a lot. When you're going through stuff, is it a lot of energy to sort of maintain that?
Yeah, I can't.
Okay.
But I'm sometimes getting ruts and it's like I'm a bit like,
Really?
And I'll still make like I'll say to Luke, oh, tell me when you find your girlfriend. Like, tell me when you find her. And he's like, is she back yet? I'm like, nope. She's not back yet. So I'll just kind of lean into it and sometimes you just can't get out of it. So, but yeah, generally we're pretty menacing. Or if I see someone else who's going through it, I'll try and ruffle some feathers to, create a few laughs.
But you get through it.
Yes.
How?
I think every time you're going through something, you learn, you think, cool, I'm going to put that one in my pocket for next experience, throw that in the bin, put that in my pocket. So you learn and grow through every low and high. And I feel like the lulls maybe get a little bit shorter. So you get through it because you do know that there's like the light at the end of the tunnel. So
Alex Hormozy says, resiliency is measured by the time it takes you to behave normally after something bad happens. With the most resilient person showing no change to begin with. Note, this doesn't stop you feeling bad. It just means you stop letting how you feel change how you act.
Yeah.
Have you seen that one before?
No, but that's cool. Or maybe because I do love Alex Hormozy as well. But I think, and comes back to what we were saying before, is like people who I understand really bad and unfortunate stuff happens, but it is how you react like to those situations. And, I think one of the biggest things is when sometimes people are going through stuff, they're like, oh, but they're going through stuff, that's why they acted out. And I'm just like, you can still, I think one of the biggest crafts to master is still being a good human while you're going through some shit. Like if you can master that craft, like credit to you. So
Not even going to ask if you think you mastered that.
Nah, not yet. Not yet.
That was sort of asking.
Definitely better. Yeah. You know, I've lost some really key family members over the last few years. And I think looking back on like how I carried myself through those situations and how like I haven't really changed much in character through that, like has been cool. So definitely work in progress for everyone, I reckon.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a work in progress.
Yeah.
Do you feel like sometimes, that'd have to be hard sometimes?
Yeah. And even just like things in business too when you want to react as well. Yeah. So I definitely carry myself like I won't act on emotion as much and process things. And well, maybe before I make a respond, either don't respond or you wait and you know you think, oh, why did I feel like that when I initially saw that response or that email or that, and then so definitely work in progress.
With that in mind, how do you decide, I guess, what's worth your time and energy these days?
Generally, you'll know, I've learned that if something like doesn't excite you or, when you go to catch up with a friend, you're like, oh, can't be fucked. And it's like, don't do it then. Do not do it. So it's the same. Like if I, obviously I've acquired a list of red flags over the years as a creative. There's plenty. So if something doesn't feel right, it generally isn't. And the quicker that you can say no or dismiss something is like the quicker that you can give energy to something that's deserving of your energy. So I think that's another craft in itself, mastering that, because again, you don't get that time back. So now, like if it's a no in my head or my heart straight away, I'll try and just be like, cool, I felt like that for a reason. Let's move on. So hard though.
I get more from giving than receiving.
100%.
Does that, there's a lot to talk about there.
Yeah, there's a lot to, sometimes receiving people's energy is a lot for me, I've learnt. When I say I get more from giving, it's more just seeing, for example, if I'm, working with other artists and trying to elevate like their potential, their business, their art, their craft, and like seeing them win, honestly, get so much more from that. And I know that in the responses. So sometimes when I've been given things or it's a bit of an uncomfortable, awkward feeling, whereas when it's someone else, I'm like, oh, this is awesome, which is interesting.
I'm in the thick of it now where I'm like, what am I doing?
Yeah.
What's your advice to me?
That priority list that we spoke about, I think you need to figure out so there's going to be a few steps. Anything that drains you or anything that you're dragging your feet to, eliminate. Don't feel bad if it's humans. Don't feel bad. They're not going to protect your passion. They're not going to pick up the pieces. That's going to be you. So eliminate the things that are draining you and not benefiting you. If you write that priority list, alongside that, write a list of goals and then figure out what on that priority list is quite low down that might be holding you back from reaching those goals. And then I'd say figure out a few key steps and a few goals in the next few months to try and get where you want to be. Because I feel like you know where you want to be. You just need to make some tough decisions to get there.
What are your
priorities?
Might
need to disappoint a few people along the way.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry.
My priorities. Oh, there's a lot. My priorities is at the moment, first and foremost, my health and fitness and maintaining that mental health, which I do through gym and training and things like that, and obviously my work. And then by doing that, I can then prioritize my family, my loved ones, my work comes amongst that too. And then close behind that would be my artist community, which we've got a free community for artists. And then we also have a bit more of an intense community for those who need more or want more. Probably want more is not Not everyone needs more. They just want to do more. And that's probably really high on the priority list because I know it's needed.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I know the answer to this question. It's you wanting to do that. I think you even said it before because you're wanting to give someone that something that they didn't have, that you didn't have.
That I didn't have. Yeah. I want to be able to gift what I didn't have, which is, sort of what I touched on earlier in that, simply put, I want to give back what I didn't have. And I know they're still going to have to put in the work, but it might be a little bit less painful and it might be fast-tracked a little bit more.
I love when you said disappoint others before you disappoint yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like you need to tap into that big time.
For sure. Yeah. But it's sort of that thing. It's like you're giving so much, and I'm sure you felt the same when you were going through it. Like you're giving so much, you're putting out so much. But then the thought goes through your head like, when maybe the tides turn, when the tides turn, it's not if, it's when. When they turn, will you feel any different?
Do you know what? Probably not, because of the human that you are or that we are, there's going to be something else. Generally. I'm speaking for myself, like maybe not, but.
For sure.
Yeah, there probably will be something else.
For sure. Well, I started just literally cutting open a steak and putting it on Instagram. And now we're sitting here together.
And now look where you are. And then I'm sure you have so many other plans.
It's hard to act when there's only, I've found strength in like just focusing on a few priorities, but like you said, everything just pops up. Things pop up and you don't know how to deal with them sometimes, but you just do your best.
It's like this.
You need to be able
priority. Yeah. You mean like as a human, you need to be so malleable and adaptable as well. Like because otherwise you miss opportunity and windows for opportunity. You might not have capacity at other times. And it's like, well, feeling like this right now, so we're going to do that.
I remember you said you need to be able to work through the triggers and traumas in order to have the gift and determination to overcome the challenges in business, all relative, all growth. It's a beautiful process.
Yeah.
A beautiful process.
It is a beautiful process. Yeah. If you would have asked me if it's a beautiful process 5 years ago, I would have been like, no, this is torture.
Why is that?
Just saw it differently.
What's different?
Victim mentality back then. It's like, oh, why is this happening? Like to me. Why is it happening to me? It's like happening for you, whatever it is you're going through. Yeah, no, it is such a beautiful process. We're lucky to be here, living, breathing. Like we're living in a country of privilege. Like if you can't see that, doesn't mean you're not going to go through an abundance of shit. But the process on a macro and a micro scale is stunning.
Is it hard for you to appreciate how far you've come? Or it's easy?
Yeah, it's that's a hard one. I'm actually not sure. I'm like, my mind's like, I have had, not taking away from it, but I have had a lot of support. So maybe that's why it's probably hard. And I know because I know a lot of people who are doing it or have done it or doing it that haven't had that. So like I probably have a lot more admiration and respect. Like I'd say it a bit when I speak to other artists. They're like, you do so much. And I'm like, I've been kissed on the dick. I've had so much help. So much help.
On the topic of appreciating the journey, I've compiled some early photos that I want you to look through.
Baby webs.
That I want you to look through and just appreciate how far you've come. And you can swipe right.
I'm going to swipe right. Oh my God. I don't know. Someone needed to tell me the eyeliner. That was not happening.
Yeah.
Do you like the jumper though? Like cute. Very cute.
I might have to put these photos up on the background.
The eyeliner was what happened to my hair? Like in the meet anyway, so I probably should be looking at the journey rather than like me as a human. This is wild. Even those pieces. Oh my no. Love that. Wow. Graduating. Shit knows how I made it through uni. Proud though. Very proud. Knowing how I am as a human. Oh my God. That's the back room in the rental property.
Have you seen these photos? Like, do you look back?
I do. Yeah. Yeah, I try to often. Because I try to practice what I preach, and I tell people no matter whether you're 6 months in, 5 years in, 10 years in, I say always reflect on the journey because, yeah, it's so important. And you're just painting on the floor. You can see like everything's like stacked in that room. It's like storage room. Oh, those paintings are so shit, aren't they?
I knew you'd say that. But that's only because I've seen what you do now compared to what you.
I love it. It's so cool. I went back to my high school.
Yeah. You went back to high school, you said?
Yeah, to talk.
Really? How was that?
It was I loved it because I could talk to the parents too, because a lot of the time like the parents have a huge role in encouraging their kids to follow something, with purpose and something they love. So I always love to be like, hey, this is your responsibility. Like if you tell your kid who is creative and vibrant to go and be a doctor because that's something that you couldn't do, then you're doing them a disservice. And like I'll honestly and brutally tell parents that. And I think we have a lot of people who are very unhappy because maybe they have listened to their parents thinking that they knew best for them. Huge.
Done. Oh, there's one more. Yeah. Do you say all them?
I'm going to keep going. This is cool.
Oh, sorry.
No, that's just wild. Mum, like it was good because it was on that. She encouraged me to do it, which is wild. These studio pictures, that's crazy. Yeah.
What's going through your head seeing all that?
Yeah, just trust the process, really. Yeah. Trust the process. It is a process. Doesn't matter what, like whether you're an artist, whether you're in business, whether you're working for someone and you're looking for more. Yeah.
You said earlier just at the beginning. Is that overwhelming?
Nah. I think I've got the patience in my pocket from that. So I'm cool. I'm cool to write it out.
Do you think you'll look at photos, or not photos, but photos of what you do now in 10 years and you'll be saying, wow, that's no good?
Yeah.
Really?
100%. Yeah.
That's exciting.
But in contrast, I often look at my like early work and I think, oh, I wish I could paint how I painted then because I didn't know anything. So you just don't overthink things as well. So like if you're in the early stages, like embrace that because that's cool as well. Sometimes people are like racing to get there where it's like, I feel like I've just contradicted some of the stuff I've said, but it's cool.
I had someone say to me, just remember what today or now feels like.
Yeah.
Like, and that was when he saw all of this.
Yeah.
Because he was like, that's going to change.
Yeah.
But no matter how much people say it, you've still got the thought. I don't know. I wish. It's almost like, would you want to see the future? It's like, probably not.
Nah. Embrace the now, for sure. Have your goals, but embrace the now.
I'm seriously so proud of myself. Initially working 3 jobs, traveling, and then establishing my own successful business while studying full-time has been such an amazing experience and accomplishment. Never let anyone tell you that you can't.
Yeah. That's pretty wild. It's true though. I mean, going back to the school photo that it just popped up, like after I'd gone and done the talk, I'd through the grapevine and heard that like my art teacher I seriously looked up to, one of them, had like shredded me in my work. And I was like, whoa, that's a you problem. But there's been a lot of people who will say you can't because they can't. So if you hold on to that and know that just because they can't doesn't mean you can't.
Oh, this is fire. I literally just heard this quote yesterday from Morgan Freeman. I wrote it down. Those who can do. Those who can't, talk about those who can.
Yeah. That's perfect. So, yeah. Yeah. I don't think I need to say anything else about that. That says it all.
Well, I can say from listening to you today and from what you've seen and from what I've seen with your journey, you've definitely, whatever can means,
Yeah.
I believe you've done an amazing job.
Thank you.
With and I think you even said you're giving it 100% with the whatever you have available to you at the time.
Yeah.
I think you've done that.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate your time today. It's been an amazing chat.
This has been the best chat I've ever had, I think. So thank you. I really appreciate it.
Hopefully we can do another one in the studio one day.
Definitely. Not one day, soon.
How do we support?
Who, you?
No, you. You.
Okay.
Not me.
Nah, this is a collective
Yeah,
thing.
of course, yeah.
Our socials both give us both a follow. Danielle's artwork. I think not so much supporting me, but if you know a creative or you know someone who's starting something, support them. Because it means a lot more than you know. So if you see someone hustling, and who's doing it on their own, just chuck them a message every now and then. Just support. Go to their fight. Go to their, send them a message even. You don't have to go and physically do things. Just tell people that you see them and you're proud.
It's a good way to end it.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your time.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
That was awesome.